The story of Job, from blessing to restoration. A righteous man. Calm, warm tone. There once lived a man named Job, in the land of Uz. He was blameless and upright, a man who feared God and turned away from evil. He was wealthy beyond measure, blessed with 7 sons and 3 daughters, 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 oxen, 500 donkeys, and many servants. Job was not only rich in possessions but also rich in faith. Every morning, he offered sacrifices for his children, saying, "Perhaps my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Among the people, Job was honored as the greatest man of the East. A test in heaven. Mysterious. Dramatic. One day, the heavenly court gathered before the Lord, and among them came Satan, the accuser. "God, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on earth. Blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." Satan, sneering, "Does Job fear God for nothing? You have placed a hedge around him, blessed his work, and increased his possessions. But stretch out your hand and strike all he has, and surely he will curse you to your face." The Lord replied, "Very well, all he has is in your power, but on the man himself, do not lay a finger." And Satan departed to test Job. Disaster strikes. Somber, heavy tone in a single day. Calamity struck Job's household. A messenger rushed in. The oxen were plowing, and the donkeys grazing nearby, when raiders attacked and carried them off. They killed the servants, and I alone escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another came. Fire from heaven fell and burned the sheep and the servants. I alone escaped to tell you. The Chaldeans formed raiding parties, swept down on your camels, and carried them off. They killed the servants, and I alone escaped to tell you. And before Job could breathe, the most terrible news arrived. Your sons and daughters were feasting in their eldest brother's house when a great wind struck it from the desert. The house collapsed, and they are gone. Job fell to the ground, tore his robe, and shaved his head in grief. But he worshipped God, saying, "Job, weeping yet faithful, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Struck with pain, grim, intense once again, Satan stood before God. Satan, skin for skin. A man will give all he has for his own life. Stretch out your hand and strike his flesh, and he will surely curse you to your face. Narration. The Lord allowed Satan to afflict Job, but not to take his life. Painful sores broke out from the soles of Job's feet to the crown of his head. He sat in ashes, scraping himself with a broken piece of pottery. Job's wife. Bitter. "Are you still holding to your integrity? Curse God and die." Job. "Weak but resolute shall we accept good from God, and not trouble." Through all this, Job did not sin in what he said. The friends debate. Reflective. Sorrowful. When Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, heard of his suffering, they came to comfort him. At first, they wept aloud and sat beside him in silence for 7 days. But then, they began to speak. Eliphaz, stern. "Job, you must have sinned. God does not punish the innocent." Bildad, firm. "Your children must have sinned against him, that is why judgment fell upon them." Zophar, harsh. "You deserve worse than this." Job, repent, and perhaps God will spare you. Job, anguished. "I have done no wrong. My cries are drowned in sorrow. Why has God made me his target? If only I could stand before him and plead my case." The debate continued for many days, Job defending his innocence, his friends insisting his suffering must be punishment. The voice of Elihu, calmer, wise. At last, a younger man named Elihu, who had listened in silence, spoke with passion. "Elihu, Job, do not accuse God. He is greater than we can understand. He speaks through suffering, to warn, to humble, and to guide. He does no wrong. Listen, and do not harden your heart. God speaks from the storm, majestic, powerful." Then the Lord himself answered Job out of a whirlwind. God's voice, thunderous. "Who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades, or loosen Orion's belt? Do you command the morning, or send forth the lightning? Tell me, if you know all these things." The voice of the Almighty shook Job's soul. Humbled, he bowed low and said, "Job, trembling, surely I spoke of things I did not understand. Things too wonderful for me to know. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I repent in dust and ashes. Scene 8 Restoration. Joyful, triumphant, the Lord rebuked Job's friends for their harsh words and told them to offer sacrifices, which Job prayed over. Then, the Lord restored Job's fortunes twice as much as before. His brothers and sisters came to comfort him. His herds doubled in number, and God gave him 7 more sons and 3 more daughters, more beautiful than any in the land. Job lived a long and blessed life, seeing his children and grandchildren to the 4th generation. Inspirational. Uplifting. The story of Job reminds us that suffering is not always punishment, and God's wisdom is far beyond our understanding, even when we do not see the reasons. His plans are higher. Through faith, Job endured the storm, and in the end, God turned his pain into blessing.